by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I'll slaughter my own. Help me, I'm a prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman. Peace and love, Black Power. Welcome again to the NAPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank. I'm with former political prisoner
Abdul Haq Islam.
In today's episode, we have a conversation with our brother, former political prisoner and freedom fighter, Jalil Muntaqim. Before we start off, I just want to remind everybody to please check out the Kamal Siddiqui campaign. They have a writing workshop that's happening. Let me put it on. Yes, this writing workshop will be happening in one of the days of Kwanzaa. Let's recognize our political prisoners and their sacrifice. We have free Matula Shakur. He's home with his family. Continue to donate to MatulaShakur.com. He definitely needs some support. Those who contributed already, we appreciate it. There's more than one way you can contribute. Share with 10 people. Like this channel. And go to our YouTube channel, NAPPC on YouTube. And please share with as many people as possible. Peace.
Peace.
Welcome to our show, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, peace, paz, Baragandi, Jambo, Irene, Hafadea, Shalom, whatever is your language, Haping, whatever is your language, I greet you in solidarity and peace.
Walaikum Islam, Black Power.
All that good stuff, my brother.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. How y'all doing? How y'all doing today?
Great.
We doing great, man. We want to just say thank you for reaching out to us to use our platform to get your word out. The floor is yours, brother. We don't want to waste no time, but we only use you half an hour.
All right, cool. Well, my reason for communicating with y'all today is that, let's see, try to get this thing straight here. Which way is it? This way? No, this way. Oh, yeah, okay. Trying to get myself looking good here. Listen, the reason why I got in contact with you because I need to share with you a campaign that we're initiating. As some of you know, I work with an organization, a nonprofit called Citizen Action of New York. I'm the special projects coordinator here in Rochester. Many of you know that Rochester is the home of our great contemporary abolitionist Frederick Douglass. Right, Frederick Douglass' home in Rochester. And so what we're doing, we're raising the legacy of Frederick Douglass in a capacity from which we are trying to deal with the issues of slavery. As you know, as an abolitionist, Frederick Douglass was, right, in this city of Rochester, We need to continue to be abolitionists, liberators, and emancipators. Those are the goals and objectives that we should try to emulate. And in this instance, what we're trying to do is do the unfinished business of Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and John Brown, right? They sought to move and build a movement, a campaign to end chattel slavery of African people in this country. However, as we well know, according to the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution, slavery in America has not been abolished, right, in its totality. In fact, what has happened, according to the 13th Amendment, right, there is an exception clause within the 13th Amendment that permits for penal slavery across this country. And also, should be known that according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, slavery in all of its forms should be abolished, terminated, right? And that has not happened here in the United States. And so what we are going to engage in is a process of building a campaign here in New York, right, to end penal slavery, right? 13th Amendment says slavery and involuntary servitude shall not exist in the United States or its jurisdiction except for those who are duly convicted of a crime. And so with that understanding, we know that slavery still exists, right, in a different form. Whereas the 13th Amendment, 1865, they ended chattel slavery, right? They said that individuals cannot hold other individual people as slaves, right? But they said that the state can, right? So they took the money away from individuals and then incorporated it into a system that the state can profit from people's labor through the penal system, right? Prisons. And so we're saying that this has to end as well, right? They have reaped exorbitant profits from the cheap labor of convicts, right? What I am now defining as incarcerated workers, right? There was incarcerated workers, and we're making the effort to ensure that our comrades, our people, our friends and family members inside these institutions get at least the minimum wage. So there are two bills pending in New York State, that we are going to fight for to become enacted into law. One of the bills specifically deals with the issues of the Enforced Labor Act. It's called the Enforced Labor Act, and has been submitted to the legislature by a senator named Murray, a black guy, right, who actually has some consciousness in terms of the issues that are being raised, right, on this particular subject matter, right, of penal servitude. And so the bill that he put in called Enforced Labor Act. And that's what happens is that inside the prison system, particularly in New York State, you are compelled to go to work. If you don't go to work, you get a disciplinary charge. You can be sanctioned for your commissary. You can be prevented from going on business, and it can hinder you in terms of getting parole. So essentially, you are coerced to work, and for what? Pennies on a dollar. All right. So essentially, what you're a slave of the state. Now, let me make this point especially clear when I say slave of the state. There are two cases: Ruffins versus Commonwealth and Jones versus North Carolina. And each of these cases, the Supreme Court has stated that prisoners are, quote unquote, slaves of the state. That's not what Jalil is saying, right? This is what the law says. Right. And we have been duped and believed this crime and punishment jurisdictions of government is one of to help preserve and save our communities. When we know that that's not necessarily true. Right? If we really want to help and save our community, they give us jobs in our community. They give us the proper housing we need to have in our community. They give us the proper education we need to have in our communities. And so they're not doing that, right? And so what we're finding is that there's a school-to-prison pipeline, right? School-to-prison pipeline. We're ushering our young people into the prison system to become slaves, right? Mass incarceration is about slavery, right? It's about how do you reap profits from people's misery and people's labor. That's mass incarceration. And so we say there's a time for us to bring this to an end, right? An immediate end. And so here in New York State, again, we have two bills pending. One is called the Enforced Labor Act, and the other is called Fairness and Opportunity Incarceration Workers Act. Incarcerated Workers Act. Now, what was important about that language there? We're not saying incarcerated prisoners. We're not saying prisoners. Why? Because prisoners, in terms of the law, is synonymous with a slave. according to the law. Prisoners are slaves of the state. So we don't want to use that word anymore. We don't identify ourselves as prisoners anymore, right? What they've been doing. Before they went to prison, they was workers. While they're in prison, they're workers. And hopefully when they get out of prison, they will be workers. So let's identify them as that, as incarcerated workers, right? And so the Act for the Fairness and Opportunity for Incarcerated Workers Act is to allow these workers, they can receive the same pay, or at least start at the same status as any other worker in society, right? Minimum wage. So we have two bills pending. One, end compulsory labor, that you can't force you to go to work, right, for pennies on a dollar. And two, the second bill is for you to gain minimum wage while you're in prison. Now, let's look at this in the broader, I'm gonna look at it in the broader sense, getting these bills passed. Naturally, if you get these bills passed, what happens? You end the incentive for mass incarceration, right? You end the incentive. The incentive, what? To profit off of people's labor, right? Pennies on a dollar. Right. So we end that incentive, and what happens? What will happen, right? They'll start changing the economics of how the allocation of economics in the state, right? Rather than sending people to prison, right? And costing people to go to prison, let me put it this way, right? To keep a person in prison for a year's time, or the time they put in a year, is the same amount of money or less money that will cost to send somebody to Harvard University for 4 years to graduate.
Yeah, could I say something? I'm sorry to interrupt you, brother. I was just doing some research, and it was an article titled Comptroller Stringer, Cost of Incarceration for Person in New York City Skyrockets to All-Time High. And this was December 6, 2021, and it said annual cost, $556,539 a person per year, or $1,525 each day. And this was in New York City. I just wanted to share that with you because I was doing some research based on what you were talking about.
Absolutely, Frank. And that's what I'm saying. They are reaping profits off our misery, reaping profits off our labor. And they keep our community in moribund conditions so we can usher our people into the penal slave system. You know, this is design, man. You know, this is not by happenstance. You know, this is regulation and policies of government, right? And so what we need to do, we have to challenge it. And so we have two courageous legislators, a guy named Myrie, right, in the senator, and a guy named Epstein, who's an assembly person, who authored these two bills, all right? And so what we're doing, we're going to build a statewide campaign, have these bills made into law, to be enacted into law, right? And what happens is, while we do so, we can broaden our conversation as to what it is to have a penal system that is a slave system in this country. What it means to have a condition for which we have the school to prison pipeline, right, to usher our young people into prison. What it means to have the way that we deal with the issues of bail reform as another example. The whole entire criminal justice system will come under scrutiny in terms of the discriminatory way in which crime and punishment is being dispensed in this country. So there's a big picture behind this little small issue in regards to these two bills. As you well know, we have the international jurors have found the United States guilty on the charges of genocides, and one of the charges, of the 5 charges that were submitted to them, they found the United States guilty of is mass incarceration. Mass incarceration is genocidal in terms of the international community, international law. It's genocidal. We have been suffering conditions of genocides for the last 400 years, right? And so what we're doing now in terms of the issue of mass incarceration, everybody's arguing about mass incarceration, but what are they doing about it, right? How are they ending it? Well, what is the tactic and strategy for which to end mass incarceration? And so we're saying that these two bills is at least tactically an approach to at least put a pin prick into the bubble of mass incarceration to diminish it, to deflate the idea of mass incarceration here in New York State. And if we are successful here in New York State, it will replicate across this country, right? Replicate across this country. So that's the golden objective. That's what I'm raising to you. Now, Thursday, tomorrow, right here in Rochester at 6:30, we'll be holding a meeting. The meeting we call the Family and Friends of Incarcerated Workers Committee. It will be the initial committee meeting. Family and Friends of Incarcerated Workers Committee, right? That's tomorrow night here in Rochester at 1392 Culver Road and Merchant. Culver Road and Merchant. It's right on the corner. That's Citizen Action's office, right? And hopefully those who are listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, right, will be inspired to come to this meeting tomorrow night, 6:30, 1392 Culver and Merchant, right? That's Citizen Action office, right? 6:30 tomorrow night, tomorrow evening, at 1392 Culver and Merchant, or Culver Road and Merchant. All right. I hope to have.
Will they be having a Zoom meeting for those who can't make it physically?
No. At this time, it will not be Zoom. Hopefully, the next meeting will make it Zoom. I'm trying to get my initial organizing committee together, right? And I'd like to have it so that we have a very strong, determined group of individuals coming. I got people coming in from Syracuse. I got people coming in from Buffalo. These are formerly incarcerated workers, right? Who have been in contact with, and they'll be showing up as well to be participating in this work.
Do you have a telephone number that you can provide people with?
No, they can contact me at my email address. The email address is jmuntaquim at citizenactionny.org. It's one word, right? Jalil, then not J. It's J Muntaqim at citizenactionny.org. Right? Again, I believe I sent you a flyer. I think I sent you the flyer for the meeting for tomorrow night. And if it's possible, you can
what
put that up.
happened was that it didn't allow me to show it on a PDF file, and it gave me a problem with the video, the technology. I needed more time to work with it.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
I got a question for you, sis, from one of our supporters.
Yes,
she says, what is being done, if anything, about the companies that benefit from this slave labor? Last, are they paying taxes on this said labor?
Okay, that's a good question. Many of the companies who have contracted with DOCS, with DOCCS, right? We have no real information in regards to how they have those contracts. Although those contracts should be made public, I'm not saying that they are public. You can go to our DOCCS website, right, and learn about their contracts with these companies. Do they pay taxes? Of course, companies pay taxes to the government, state and federal taxes. There's no doubt about that. So people pay taxes, but that does not necessarily mean that those who are doing the work are benefiting from their labor and the full sense of benefiting from their labor. They are not. They're receiving pennies on dollars. Some are up to 15 cents and maybe up to 50 cents an hour, right? That's the most. That's the most they're going to get inside prisons, right? Whereas these companies are reaping millions of dollars from prisoners' labor, right? From incarcerated workers' labor. And so for us, it's important that we change these laws and like I said, put a pinprick in the bubble of mass incarceration to deflate that bubble, to diminish the capacity from which they can reap exorbitant profits from the labor of incarcerated workers. That's the golden objective. We're going to end mass incarceration here and across this country. We're going to end penal slavery here and across this country. And we cannot do it. I cannot do it naturally. I cannot do it by myself. We need to build a statewide campaign. Now, the statewide campaign for this work is called 13 Forward. You can see that, right? 13 Forward. That's what we're doing. And so my campaign, 13 Forward, right? And that's a statewide. That's statewide as well as national campaign. But what I'm doing here in Rochester is building the committee that's going to be in alliance with the 13 Forward campaign, right? And that also includes various organizations like NAIM, right? The other organization is called Color of Change, Legal Aid Society, right? And the Little Piece of Light, and various other campaigns and various other organizations are in coalition in this campaign. And so I'm asking any organizations out there who understand this message, understand this, to contact 13 Forward or contact me, and let's build a coalition to broaden our base of support and ensure that we are able to make these bills come into law, right? To bring them into law. On February 1st, right, part of the campaign, February 1st, we'll be having a lobbying day in Albany, right? We could be lobbying the legislators in Albany to have this bill passed and have these two bills passed into law. And so we're asking people from all across the state on February 1st to come to Albany, and we're going to organize a lobbying campaign to go into these legislators' office, go in their office and sit down with them and persuade them to vote in favor of the bill, passing these two bills, the Enforced Labor Act and the Fairness and Opportunity for Incarcerated Workers Act. These two bills are extremely important, right? We will change the dynamics of incarceration, change the dynamics of crime and punishment and where it's been implemented for centuries, for at least 150 years in New York State, right? This is what we're going to do, right? And we need your help to do so. So I'm thanking both you, Brother Hawk and Frank, for this opportunity to speak to your audience, right, and get them involved in this campaign. For those who live in Rochester, right, or you have family and friends who live in Rochester, tell them, instruct them, encourage them, inspire them to come to this meeting tomorrow night at 1392 Culver Road at 6:30, right, for this Family and Friends of Incarcerated Workers Committee meeting, the initial meeting, right? We're gonna jumpstart this whole campaign in New York State, right here in Rochester. We're gonna rise up the legacy of Frederick Douglass, of Harriet Tubman, and John Brown, right? They ended chattel slavery. We're gonna end penal slavery. That's the goal and objective. All right? It's historic. It's historic. We can make it happen. And naturally, if New York falls, the country gonna fall, right? We're gonna end mass incarceration, right? People argue about mass incarceration. No one come up with no other tactic. How do you challenge it? This is one of the tactics in which we can challenge it, right? End penal slavery across this country. That's the goal and objective. The end penal slavery, the end the incentive of mass incarceration for these corporations making exorbitant profits of our labor, right? And we change the dynamics of crime and punishment in this country. That's our goal and objective. Part and parcel of moving people towards the ideas of national independence and liberation, right? It's all tactical, right? And our strategic goal is national independence and liberation. All right, brothers? Is there any more?
Appreciate what you've done. Again, could you provide people with your email?
Your email is jmuntain@citizenactionny.org. Right? Citizen Action, CITIZENACTIONNY.org. CitizenActionNewYork.org. Right? Hit me up.
And the name of the campaign is 13 Forward.
The name of the campaign is 13 Forward, but the committee here in Rochester will be called Family and Friends of Incarcerated Workers Committee. Right? Listen, in understanding to what degree that the criminal justice system has impacted our community, right? In the years from which we have people that have gone to prison, right, and come out of these penal systems, right? There's thousands and thousands of people has been impacted by the criminal justice system. Thousands, right? I don't want thousands. Give me 500. Give me 500. Give me 500 across the state whose families and friends of incarcerated workers, right? Tell your people that you know inside, tell them this is the work that we're doing. Tell them to hit me up. Tell them to get in contact with me here in Citizen Action in Rochester, right? We need the comrades inside the penitentiary also down with this action. I need the brothers and sisters inside these penitentiaries also down with this action, right, in these slave camps, right? Because they are the one ultimately who's going to be able to impress upon the state that the system has to change, all right? Now, we ain't calling for no strikes. We ain't calling for no, at this point in time, right? At this point in time, we're not calling for close down the prison system and all that kind of. At this point in time, because we ain't got the support base for it, right? We don't have the legal support base for it. We don't have the political support base for it. We don't have the various organization support base for it. We don't want to ensure that we do not have another Attica. We do not want to have that, right? Where our comrades and our people get slaughtered by the state as they did in Attica in 1971, okay? But we want to create the conditions for which they have irrefutable understanding of what we're trying to achieve here. We're going to end penal slavery in New York State.
Well said. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your passion. And we're definitely going to get this out to our viewers who are our supporters, and they're going to get it out to others. And we're going to support the campaign in every which way we can. I think another thing that you should do is reach out to people who other elected officials who show solidarity on issues like this and who also support the release of political prisoners.
Yes, yes.
We call on people and organizations, viewers, to support this effort. You know, we are freedom-loving people. Some of us love freedom so much that we fight for it and become freedom fighters. You know, very, very important. You know, the essence of slavery is something that is abhorrent to our people. You understand? Something that we organize against. You know, the slavers' objective is to destroy the humanity of a people. You understand? To make them feel hopeless and helpless. You understand? Through violence, insult, degradation, disrespect. You know, and through your efforts like this, the people can feel that they have support and be uplifted. You know, so we encourage our viewers to get down with this, you know, to love this campaign, you understand, and to communicate with our brothers and sisters on the inside, you understand, and let them know that we're all about their freedom and their liberation out here, you know, and to look up and you know, feel hope in your hearts.
That's right.
Yes. Well said. And we got work to do now.
I got work to do, brothers. Got work to do. Okay. All right. Again, 1392 Culver Road at 6:30 tomorrow night. I'll be here. I'll be square. Okay. All right, my brothers. I got to roll. All right.
All right, man. Peace, brother. Keep fighting. And thanks for the time and the opportunity.
We be telling our people that we got talented brothers and sisters on lockdown, and we're saying that brothers like Jalil Muntaqim come out here and do work. And this is an example of that work, you know, an example of why we need to free them all.
Free them all.
Free them all. That's the call. Free them all. All right, brother.
Free them all.
All
right, peace. Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, so much respect and love to our brother who reached out to us about utilizing our platform to get his word out. I think that says a lot about what we're doing as a podcast and what we're doing as an organization, because we know that we have our work ahead of us, but we have that responsibility, accountability when it comes to the ideas of our freedom fighters. Our freedom fighters want our freedom, and they're willing to organize and fight for it. They're willing to sacrifice for it, and we should show admiration and respect by supporting them any and every way that we can. And I think that the brother laid out a great plan. I think that once it has enough support, then it will manifest at the level that he wants it to manifest and that we want it to manifest, because we don't want to see mass incarceration. As I just gave you the information that was written about how much it costs for somebody to be incarcerated for just one day. And just think about how somebody's monetizing our misery. And we have to be infuriated by that to the point that we're going to organize and do something to challenge those ideas, because those ideas, once they go unchallenged, then they continue to carry on to the next generation, and our next generation can have a certain life that is beautiful, and instead they have a life of misery because we didn't do our job at the time that we were supposed to do it. So when we talk about our political prisoners, we're talking about people with ideas, people who are intent on their passion for freedom and who are committed to bringing those ideas to us. So we have to continue to struggle, free our political prisoners. We have to do this any and every time that we have the opportunity to do such. Kwanzaa's coming up, so there's a number of principles that will be recognized during that time. It's very important to talk about what we are doing as a people. The 13th campaign the 13 Forward campaign by Jalil that he just laid out. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about Kamal Siddiqui, writing him that campaign to make sure that he remains strong, make sure that he knows he's not forgotten. I just gave you the information. Make sure you share that with at least 10 people. And while you're at a gathering of family and friends, talk to them about justice. Talk about the fight to combat injustice. Because if we don't, then we're in compliance with injustice, and we don't care about those who are suffering. And at some point, us not caring only allows this treatment or mistreatment, rather, of common people to continue to exist. And at some time, somebody dear to us will be affected, if not already. Abu Haq Islam, I think we're coming to an end of this episode, this historic episode, because this is one that definitely is going to be circulated in many places and bring about a certain level of consciousness for those who might not be there at this particular time.
Right on, my brother. You know, this is a topic that touches my heart and soul because, you know, me, like many other black people, the fight for freedom is in our bones. It's in our DNA. You know, the idea that certain classes, types of people would want to perpetuate slavery on the inside, you understand, and to destroy a segment of the humanity of black people, you understand, is something which must make us rise up in resistance. Resistance to slavery, you understand, is a part of the legacy of black people, you know. So in that vein, we call on people to respond to this appeal, you know. Be strong, you know, and we can win this. You know, we won other campaigns against slavery, and we can win this, and we will win this. You know, to bring our brothers and sisters home, you understand, out of the clutches. You know, they say that, you know, this type of behavior is a Southern thing, but this is New York. You know, you got to, when I was in Clinton Penitentiary, I got to become aware of the great Northern clans in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in Lucasville, Ohio. You got a vast Ku Klux Klan encampment. Okay, so slavery is happening, you know, and you know, it is our duty as black people and as freedom and justice loving people, you understand, to respond, you know, and put up the great fight, the fight that we're gonna win, and what's to call free them all.
Free them all.